Hi everyone, this is the screencast for LIT3000 America and the Avant Garde. I'm Sam Ladkin, and I'd like to apologise for just how boring this PowerPoint presentation is. For copyright reasons, there are no pictures, no music, no nothing. The module, however, won't be like this and will be much more exciting. Okay, so I guess this is the type of course where if you need a PowerPoint to tell you to do it, you shouldn't be doing it anyway. This is a course about experimentation, about radicalism in your art making and in your social life too, political life. It's an interdisciplinary course that covers poetry, film, dance, music, theatre, and talks about the ways in which all of these different art forms talk to one another. So it's hugely various in its approach, and you're welcome within the module to focus on particular conversations between art forms. You're welcome to work on painting, on music, on dance, on whatever it might be that takes your interest. Hopefully what will take your interest isn't something you know already. Hopefully it will be something you discover. Okay, so on to the next slide. This is just, if you want to look at my kind of online academic profile, show you some of the things I've been working on. A lot of it's to do with the relationship between poetry and painting, and particular interest in contemporary British and American poetry, but all sorts of things really. That's my email address. If you want to get in touch with me, I can send you another kind of description of the course if it would be helpful to you, with a bibliography. On to the next slide. So this, basically what you need to do is go away and look at this stuff, whether it's in the real world, if you can find it in the Tate Modern or elsewhere. Go to concerts or dance shows or whatever it might be. A couple of websites there that will be particularly helpful. The first, ubu.com, is a really outstanding resource for avant-garde material throughout the European and American avant-gardes in the 20th century. It's a really remarkable, and many of the names I'll bring up during this little talk will be up there, so go and have a look and just search around. If basically you want to be on that website, then you want to be on this course. If basically you sort of vomit on your screen as you trawl that website, then perhaps this isn't the module for you. In which case, goodbye, good luck with your life. Let us know how you get on. For all those who are still here, the next slide. So this is the course outline. These are all the different weeks of work that we'll be going through, and I won't explain all of them to you now, but just to run through this very quickly. Noise and silence, thinking about composition and music of the time, minimalism, and the work of John Cage, for example, thinking about Morton Feldman and others. The second week I'll come back to in just one moment. The third is Black Mountain College, a place where various artists and poets got together to learn under the kind of auspices of a guy called Charles Olson. Charles Olson, a great poet, enormous poet, in fact 6'8". And interesting people there: Charles Olson, Robert Creeley, Robert Rauschenberg, Willem de Kooning went to teach for a while. So a fascinating place. Then a week on dance, on a kind of modernist, high modernist moment with Georges Balanchine, and then into a kind of post-war experimental scene with Merce Cunningham, the great choreographer and collaborator with John Cage. I'll come back to the San Francisco Renaissance in 1 second as well. A couple of film weeks. The first one, extraordinary works by Maya Deren, and then very contemporary works by Peggy Arwesh. This is a kind of experimental filmmaking scene. After that, we'll have a look at pop art, thinking particularly about pop art as in visual art with Andy Warhol, but also Andy Warhol's films and just some of that kind of moment, late 60s, early 70s really, but extending previous to that and after that too. Another look at the New York School, which I'll return to in a moment. A second week on film, probably including these people: Stan Brakhage, Hollis Frampton, Kenneth Anger. Have a look at Ubu. for some of their work if you'd like to. Then various ideas about theatre, probably looking at a group called the Worcester Group in New York in the 70s. But I may change my mind before then, it's just possible. And finally, notation and performance, which is looking at various visual scores, various art scripts, various kinds of material. We'll just try and pick through it and see what we think. Okay, the next slide. So this is just one example. These are some of the people involved in the New York School. In terms of painting, it's often associated with the term abstract expressionism. Most famously, I guess, Jackson Pollock. But have a look at any of these people: Pollock, de Kooning, Rothko, Rauschenberg. Many of people you know may have, Rothko prints or something on their wall. It's a bit like that, but they're sort of oil paints rather than posters. Okay, and hopefully, maybe you can get to Tate Modern or wherever that might have some of their original works by these people. If not, just have a trawl around online and see what you can see. With the poets, New York School poets, Frank O'Hara, John Ashbery, James Schuyler, John Wieners, and others, we'll just take a trawl through some of their works, and also think about them in relation to the music scene with Cage and Feldman, but also the music scene of jazz and bebop with Charlie Parker and John Coltrane and Billie Holiday. You might want to look at O'Hara's elegy for Billie Holiday, for example. Just a couple of places to go then in the next slide. Have a look for John Wiener's A Poem for Painters, wonderful poem that's online, just as a sort of example. Excuse me. Or Rauschenberg's Rebus, which is at the MoMA website. The MoMA has a good selection of images of a lot of this material. It's a museum of modern art in New York. Next slide then, the description of the San Francisco and Beat Generation. I guess a lot of people will kind of come into the module thinking about these people, Ginsberg and Kerouac, I guess in particular, and we'll have a look at some of their poems and probably a novel of Kerouac's, depending on how some of the other modules are shaping up, but there'll certainly be a chance to engage with the Beat Generation, and in particular how it links in with the San Francisco Renaissance, which I'll talk about more. Okay, some details then. The assessment, you'll be assessed in 3 parts. The first will be 10% of the mark, which is on your attendance, participation in seminars, so just speaking, having some thoughts, being kind of attentive and careful in seminars around your colleagues. And also, everyone will have to introduce one seminar, a fairly a kind of open-ended invitation to just introduce some of the work from that week. It's not a particularly fraught experience, it's just a way into the conversation. So, and that's 10% of your mark. The second assessment is either a critical work, just a straightforward essay, close reading of an artwork, a poem, a couple of poems, a piece of music, whatever it might be, either a single one or comparison. Or you are welcome to produce your own creative work, so long as the creative work demonstrates that you've been thinking about the course thus far, and that you're learning something about art making, and you're putting that into your own kind of designs for making, and that will be accompanied by a little kind of précis you've written about your own work and why you've done it the way you have. And that can be anything. It can be painting or performance or whatever it might be. And finally, the biggest chunk of the mark, 60% of the mark, is just an essay on a topic you'll develop throughout the course. Okay, and finally, just to let you know about the teaching format, it's a not really a lecture actually. It depends how many of you take the course. Last time there were about 30 of you, and we split it up into 2 seminars. So one of them was more or less a lecture from me, but hopefully with heckles from all of you, and the second is a seminar with just a conversation at which you have to participate. So you just have to be engaged and involved and take care of the course, really look after it, go off and do some research, do some thinking, do some reading about each of these weeks, and try and introduce yourselves and each other to all sorts of extraordinary things that you won't have heard of by now. Attendance is mandatory. There's no punishment in terms of percentages, or rather there is. If you fail to turn up to enough, then you'll lose points. But also just it'll all get a bit shouty, so just try and avoid that because I hate doing it. Okay, and we're just going to think about why cultures might need a little bit of critique, a little bit of dissent, or we might be discontented with our own time, and how discontentment might be pervasive back then too. I think it's a pretty exciting course, but other courses are good too, so, you know, do another degree after this one. All right, thanks very much, bye.